crude oil. All our oils and bombs are handmade 100% natural ingredients because we care about your beard.
I had had enough.
Well, you drove out there into the middle of nowhere and had some sort of loud verbal display challenging ET in general out in the middle of nowhere?
That's what I was doing. I actually had a pistol in my hand at the time. I was really ticked off. When I was having this fit, I was waving the gun in the air, okay, and I had this fit. And at this moment, I said, okay.
He was a Louisiana man named Montaldo. Folks around called him Six Gun Joe. Worked with ICAR, don't you know? Investigating UFOs. Out for a drive with a gal one night, they stopped to check out a reporting site. When an alien lit right there on the ground, commenced to throwing his weight around. Now, old Six Gun didn't take too kindly to that kind of thing, especially without Vaseline or anything like that, you know. Seriously. Well, Six Gun looked that critter right in the eye and said, "Any last wish before you die, yo?" Reached for his gun, quick as a twitch, and said, "Fill your claw, you son of a bitch." Now a legend spread across the land about this pistol-waving man. But if you're from space or from Earth below, you don't give no lip to Six Gun Joe.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to UFO Undercover. Hope everyone's having a great evening, great morning, great afternoon, wherever you are on our big, beautiful blue planet. I really do hope everybody's like that, and I will be on cam in just a second. Yes, let's make sure that's muted so we don't have to hear my lovely voice. And how is everyone tonight? Great, good. We're going to be talking about alien abductions tonight, one of my favorite subjects. A lot of stuff going on, so we're going to cover a lot of information. Next week, I'm going to have the crew from Paranormal Prophecy on from Pittsburgh Paranormal. Sorry, my brain is getting old these days. Well, we have Chasing Prophecy, which is who's coming on with me next week, and then we have Chasing the Truth, which is Sean Graham, which is on Saturday. So if some reason or another I want to flip-flop these shows, I don't know why, but we also have a new show that has joined the network with us. We're going to actually have 3 new shows coming on over the next few weeks, but the first one to join us, which joined us today, but technically they joined us yesterday, but we've been looking to bring these guys on board. They have won Best Paranormal Podcaster in the UK last year, just like we won Best Local Broadcaster here last year. So, you know, we're all happy that we're winning awards, which I'm going to touch on the award thing in just a minute about some of the stuff I've been seeing lately. Really and truly, there's been some, how can I say this politely, some funky, wonky business going on. But we'll get to that in just a minute. Tonight's show is going to be about alien abduction. You know, people, I get these questions all the time. And if you listen to me long time or have been listening to me over the years, you'll know a lot of these are probably already answered in different ways. And sometimes information changes and stuff like that. But in this case, tonight, we're going to be talking about alien abductions. Jenny, don't be putting expert on there. I'm sorry. The expert thing is granted, if I've been in the field 35 years and not still no such thing as an expert. What is a real alien abduction? How do you know it was a real alien abduction? How do you know it was real? I mean, it's real simple. What should I expect? What should you expect from an alien abduction? I don't know. Will they harm me? They may be. Will they help me? Could be. Should I fear them? Ooh, a lot of people do. Should I be scared of them? A lot of people are. But should you be? We're going to get into all of this tonight. Are alien abductions the same? I'm sorry. I'd be scared of all alien abductions. I know. Are all alien abductions the same? And if not, what's the difference? We're going to get into that, and that's a really important thing we're going to get into later tonight in the show. Do we have any idea why they're here or why they're abducting people? That's a good question. And do they take your children? A big agenda tonight. Let me get a cup of coffee. You know, somebody the other day said they were going to send me a new coffee cup. You know, I usually get a couple of new cups a year. Cups. Well, last year I got a bunch of Christmas cups for some reason. People give me shit all year about drinking out of Christmas cups. This is that. Well, you know, speaking of that, here, let me show you what somebody sent me. They sent me this cup. This is my Chihuahua cup. It's got my Chihuahua on this side. See, there he is. Charlie the Chihuahua with his brother Maxie. Somebody actually took it off web and sent it to me. It's now being used as you can see what it's being used for. So, and thank y'all for the person who sent me that, by the way. I do appreciate it. I get little stuff like that all the time. As back here, as you see the photograph back here, that's courtesy of John Goodwin and Galaxy Press, which we talk about them a lot on the network. So, you know, it's just, there's other stuff, there's books laying around, other pictures. There's 2 new computers. I mean, I still need 2 more, but we're almost back to where we need to be computer-wise. Well, between the storms and a lot of electrical surges and some other stuff, and some of them just being older, it was just time. We had the storm killed 2 when the wind blew. 2 nice ones, 2 expensive computers. You know, so we've managed to replace one of them, but both of them computers were about $1,800. But like I told somebody, asked me the other day about donating one, we don't need high-end video cards. We're not gaming on these computers. We do a lot of other stuff on them. They got to be way powerful, and we'll put the audio cards in ourselves because we own the ones that know what we really want to use. That's going to match with the rest of the system. So, but everything else we tell people 6 core better, at least 12 gigs of RAM or better, because that's what it takes to have the station run smooth. So maybe I should put up a donation. Oh, Carl, I'm glad you said that. Oh no, we are good there. We are good there. I don't know. I can't get anybody coming this crazy. You actually go to the YouTube chat room, people. Yeah, hold on. I see this alien expert group tonight. What the hell is this? It's a private group. I see that we all got alien names. I can see what kind of night this is going to be right off the bat. But y'all, we're trying to really build the chat rooms on YouTube, and we have seen some pretty good ones lately. I know Laura Lee had a good one last night, and I know Amelia and Michelle had some pretty good ones last week. So, I actually took the week off last week. I had other things going on. It's like today, I was home most of the day, but I was talking with roofers and, you know, fun stuff like that. Catching up archives, things like that. Bringing the new show onto the network. And not just that. We syndicated some old shows like Threshold Radio. We brought them back. The Threshold, John Stevenson did a great job with that show. Even though it is mainly retired these days, it's a fabulous show. It's got some of the best ufologists in the field on it, talking about subjects that are still important today. And I tell anytime, because, you know, we don't have Jim Mars anymore. So anytime you can catch interviews with Jim Mars, you should, because Jim Mars was a breath of fresh air in ufology, but not just in ufology, in the political world as well. It was hard for people to knock him because he was such a brilliant researcher. When his politics were against you, you wanted to get mad, but you knew he did his homework. So it was hard to say, oh, well, you know, maybe you're wrong. And anybody can be wrong. I don't want to lie about that part. But in his case, I would think. Now, him and Ted Phillips is another great researcher in the field. He did a good job. As a matter of fact, I haven't talked to Ted in years. I'm going to give him a call. There are a lot of other good researchers out there that you should be. A lot of good abduction researchers out in the field. And abduction research is different than ufology because we mainly get along. It's not a big cuckoo between everybody. There's some skirmishes here and there because there's some BSers out there. But for the most part, we agree it's 10 to 15% of the population. We agree on a lot of things when it comes to abductions and the aliens and stuff like that. So it doesn't get crazy until they start talking about, 59 different types. Yeah, well, show me some evidence for that. I have no problem believing there's more than 4 or 5 types of aliens in the universe. I'm just, if you're going to tell me to come in here, we do everything is evidence-based, okay? So when I talk about this, in abduction cases. So when we started doing abduction cases, we were looking for similarities, the things that would make us know that it were really happening to people. Because what's the odds that an alien's going to come here and then everybody they pick up is going to be completely different every time? That doesn't really make sense if they're working on particular projects. And really and truly, if you talk to someone from like probably about 1940s now, but you could have gone, we've got witnesses from back that were alive when we took the thing from the 20s. So, you can go back in these cases and look, when they describe their abductions, they're a lot like what they describe today. And there are countries in this world that seem to be control groups, like the British Isle. It seems to be a control group for abductions, because when I talk to abductees there, for the most part, they're what I call old school abductions versus the rest of the world's way they're being handled today. There's always going to be some bad stuff in abductions. That's just part of it. But there's also going to be good stuff and other stuff. And I don't know if I'd call it enlightening or not, but it can be if you're smart enough to understand what it is you're looking at, I guess. And it just depends who's also abducting you as well. But for the most part, when I got in this field 30-umpteen billion years ago, I've been in this field longer than most of the researchers have been alive in the field today. Hold on a second, guys. We have the burglar alarm is now going off. We have been burgled. Yeah, sorry about that. I guess we're being burgled through the house. Sorry, guys. We had to go turn the burglar alarm off. And yes, don't you love that Chihuahua burglar alarm? Listen, they are demons. They are just insane and out of their mind. And usually I keep him locked up when we're doing shows. But, the one's so old now, I hate to lock him up. He was 80 years old. I mean, he's 18 years old, so I hate him locked up. But anyway, getting back to where we were. These abductions, when I first started looking at it, I really thought these people were crazy. I remember this woman I knew. I just got out the Navy. I wasn't out of the Navy. I was discharged out of active duty into reserve duty. I was 19 going on 20. I think it was right at 20. So I meet this woman, and she's telling me how aliens are coming and taking her. Now, this is about a 36-year-old, 37-year-old woman, beautiful woman, married, got children, in politics, local politician. I only knew her because my mom and him knew her, and they were just friends of the family, and all kind of growing up together. And she was telling me the story. And it's like, oh, you just bullshit me. You're pulling my leg, blah, 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 blah. I said, well, your mom says you have interest in sci-fi, and I just wanted you to know there's other things out there going on. And I looked up at her like, you're crazy, biatch. There's no way aliens are coming and taking you and doing whatever to you. And for some reason or another, even when I was in the Navy, people used to come up and tell me about their weird experiences and these weird UFO sightings. I never could understand. My whole life, people just come up and tell me stuff. When I was working in the front, like in the front offices, a place where people could see me, they would come and start talking to me and come and bitch or complain about something, and then sit there and tell me their whole life. I knew about their kids, their family, who died, who recently died, what was going on. It was amazing to me how weird this was. And I know it happens to other people because I've talked to other people about it. It's one of the reasons I preach about, always be sure you treat the people the way you want them to treat everybody else, because it makes a difference. I've been saying this since I was 15, and I'm not going to quit saying it, or since I was 14. If you walk into a convenience store and you're nice to that individual, more than likely they'll be nice to the people who come in behind them, and that person will be nice to someone else, and it just spreads. It's not any kind of magic or anything else. It's just common sense, but it does work, and it does spread. But it's the same thing. If I come in pissed off and shoot this person out, more than likely they're going to be angry or pissy at the next 8 or 10 customers, which are just going to set them off. And in today's COVID world, we really need to practice on this and really think about how we react to people. But it really doesn't have anything to do with what we're talking about. So getting back to where we were, I just kept going, Jesus, these people cannot all be this crazy. So in the Navy, I met a couple of pilots who had told me they had had alien contact. I also met a captain who had told me they had had alien contact. And out of the blue, I mean, I wasn't researching this at the time. This is what's so weird about this. So when I got out and people were just, it was all like something was drawing me, like, you got to come here, you got to come here.
And then I met a guy I was working for. I was working part-time for him because I was doing something else when I got out of the Navy. And we were sitting there one night, and it was after work, and we were closed, and we were smoking a joint, ain't gonna lie, and which was illegal back then, by the way. But anyway, we were smoking, and he starts getting chatty, and I'm laughing, cutting up, and he says, "Have anybody ever told you about being taken by an extraterrestrial?" And I just looked at him like, "What?" I mean, the expression on my face had to be enough because I was like, and I'm like, well, yeah, I have heard people talk about it before, man, kind of hemming and hawing around. So he goes on telling me a story. Well, his wife comes out and she starts telling me her story. I'm like, what the hell? And these are decent, everyday people raising a family, just people. Nobody, no axe murders, no crazy people, paying their bills, working their credit, going to work. Just everyday Joe Schmo, Mary Lou, whoever is who they were. So I'm thinking, it's got to be some kind of attention thing. I need attention. I got some kind of disorder, some kind of post-traumatic stress or some shit. And I'm like, it's got to be something. So I started doing a little research. The internet didn't exist back then. So you had to go to the library. And so I actually did. I spent a lot of time in the library looking at books. And I was going to colleges and seeing if, just trying to connect with people who may have heard stories and attending conferences. And any way I could find anything that was weird to see, just to meet these people. And somewhere in all of that, I decided, I should learn hypnosis. But before I learned that, I actually learned voice stress analysis. By the way, I learned voice stress analysis, facial recognition, body language, actually several things, but none of it had anything to do with ufology. It all had to do with the companies I was working for hiring, firing, and catching thieves. Because I did that for a lot of companies. I was really, really good at it. And so I had to learn all this stuff. And over the years, don't get me wrong, it's paid dividends, not just in ufology, but in everyday life. Because, someone starts fidgeting or moving or twinking or twitching or whatever, I generally got an idea what it's about. So it helps me out in a lot of ways. So I'd be interviewing these people, and they didn't have the posture of a liar. They weren't acting like they were lying. And when I'd ask them, would you be willing to take a polygraph or voice stress? And they were saying yes. When I was expecting them to say, oh, no, we're not going to do that. So I had a friend of mine who was doing polygraphs at the time, and I said, hey, look, George, you want to come over and do some polygraphs for me? He said, why don't you do voice stress? I said, well, let's do the polygraphs first and see what they tell. And I said, and if they come back positive, we'll do the voice stress for authentication. And that, by the way, that's what they did for Larry Warren. I originally did the voice stress on Larry Warren on a couple of occasions. I did the tapes that Peter Robbins sent me of him and Larry Warren, which were great tapes, and whatever they were saying in that whole entire thing, they were being totally honest about. A little giddy and crazy, but totally honest. I voice stressed Larry Warren 3 other times besides that, and he's passed every time. What I mostly find out fantastic about that is Charles Halt, James Pennison, and John Burr refused to be polygraphed or voice stressed. And if they're telling the truth, there's nothing to hide. There's no reason not to. And I don't have a pony or a dog in this hunt, so I'm not like I'm going to go out of my way to falsify data or anything. Because I'm hoping they're telling the truth. I'd like all 4 of them, to be 4 great witnesses then, and not just one. So, but things need to be authenticated, and that's what we were talking about back then. So we started doing that, and then a friend of mine comes over one day, goes, "You ever heard of MUFON?" I'm like, "Moo what? Moo cow? Moo what? What the hell are you talking about? Moo what?" He said, "MUFON." I'm like, "What is it?" I said, "No, I've never heard of it." He said, "The Mutual UFO Network." I'm like, "Wow, really? Is there such a thing?" And he's like, "Yeah. You should join." I'm like, "I should do what?" He said, "You should join." And I'm like, I don't know, barely knee-high a cricket at this time. I think I'm 21, 22. And I'm like, I don't know, And I'd met my wife, though, by then. And actually, I was just getting ready to be 21, and we both joined. I said, all right, well, we'll join. So we got on. I started sending them stuff, and we're doing a lot of talking. They really liked us because we were really good researchers. So they put us in charge of several research projects. I was like, oh, all right, this is cool. And we became a lead researcher and did all kind of work for MUFON. And I was going out investigating cases, and not just here, but in a lot of other places. And I was getting a lot of data. And then I ran into a gentleman. I'm not going to mention his name because he don't want to talk about it anymore. But him and I sat down one day and said, we need to find a way to match abductions. Because all we were doing was tracing lights in the sky at the time. And so we pooled. We spent, the better part of 2 years tracking down every abduction case we could find, from word of mouth to people who had brought it to us, from the libraries. But anyway, it totaled about right at 5,000 cases.
And we went through them and we looked for comparisons, anything that was the same, anything that was really different, anything that was really the same. And that was our first abduction criteria. That was, I think I was 25 or 26 at the time. And that was our first established abduction criteria. MUFON didn't want to use it because MUFON was scared of alien abduction. MUFON's still scared. Even with their STAR team, they're still scared of alien abductions. Or they would have already, it's ICAR's the one who broke out, who did the blood type studies, the reptilian studies, the gray studies, the DNA study. That's all of us. Almost all the major information out there on aliens when it comes to abduction, and that's from our organization. And it's just sad that we had to go there. Somebody just hit me up with a Cable Green thing right there. Cable Green's the movie about Rendlesham Forest, guys, so yeah, be sure to check it out. I'm sitting there right here. Don't F with me, people. Mm-hmm. But the next one I'm going to do, I'm going to wear a red wig, and I'm going to be Michelle DeRoche. She ain't watching, so we can get away with that. Anyway, moving on. So, we established our first abduction criteria. We were like, okay, we got this. We can start looking for cases. We'd already set up ufology and UFO tracking and criteria for UFOs and what, 5 classifications and every other damn thing you could think of. So we were hot into it. And, I was working for companies. I was working my way up with several companies at the time. Through different companies. I kept, every time I'd get to a certain point, another company would steal me, which was fine because it was better pay, better benefits. But anyway, I apologize. That's not exactly true. What I actually did at that age, I had a little small construction business, painting apartments. I had a couple of crews working, painting for Lake Development. I had about 60 complexes I was painting for. And I was really making good money. And we made enough money that we decided we were going to semi-retire, maybe take 2 or 3 year break, and move to the coast and just hang out. So that's what we did. So I sold the business to a friend of mine down here, and then we moved to the coast and got some serious research done those 3 years. We did a lot of traveling. We spent a lot of time in Gulf Breeze. We went down there and broke a lot of stuff in the Gulf Breeze case, debunked a lot of stuff. That's another case. MUFON went heads over heels on that case, and they sent somebody down there to debunk it. And then we were sent down there to debunk the people who debunked it because we had found out that there was a lot of lies going on. So it was the whole strange thing. But then, as money runs out, I got to go back to work. So we got a lot of research done. But it was bothering me because we had some personal experiences and some other stuff going on. And every time I tried to get any research back out of MUFON, it was like pulling teeth. Now, I knew Walt Anders. Him and I talked. Walt Anders was, I shouldn't say now because he's passed, but was a member of ICAR. He actually joined on the air about 15 years ago. And, him and I talked. He was a personal hero of my wife's. We talked a lot, but for some reason, when it came to alien abductions or military anything, they didn't want to have anything to do with it. Used to scared of a Jesus. I mean, it still really does. But that's just part of that. Maybe they were co-opted a long time ago. Who knows for sure? We do know there's several people that's been in directive positions that have black ops ties. So, and we know there's been some funny business with Bigelow and a couple other things. So, you got to stop and wonder. But the main reason I left MUFON is because they became the black hole of Calcutta. And after I think it was 30 years at that time, their conclusion was that UFOs existed, not that they were alien, not that they were anything else. And then who was it? The guy before this one, the director before this one, I had brought him on the show. I haven't actually invited this guy on my show because MUFON kind of is not on my good list right now. And but I invited him on my show, and was it James Carrion? Or was it the old guy? I can't remember which one it was, but we got to talking, and we got to talking about, what's MUFON doing? Why has it been here? Why can't it keep up with everybody else? Why does it always seem to be some controversy going on with it? Why is there such a lack of data? Because John Slusher had told me one time on Wake Up USA, and I actually offered to help him with this. They wanted to get all their box data and make it available online, which they've never done, by the way. We even volunteered. We had people in Colorado at the time that were going to volunteer to scan everything, put it on computers, and upload it for them. We didn't want any payment for it. We didn't even want to copy the information. But MUFON didn't want to do it for some reason. I don't even think they got it, to be honest with you. I've heard rumors or say some friends of mine on the board that a lot of that stuff they don't even have anymore. It was lost. It's a shame if it was. There was a lot of good data. I know personally I put in quite a lot of data in that base myself. But what can you do? And for Marsha Brown, yes, ma'am. We're actually in the middle of restructuring ICAR. Somebody asked that. They asked me if we were going to change the name. I doubt it, but we are in the middle of. We will probably put out a thing for directors and assistant directors, and investigate it sometime over the next month or two. Right now, there's just other things going on right now. It kind of takes other time up. Yes, I know, isn't it strange? But so I mean, for me in the early days, this was more about debunking alien abductions than proving it. I mean, this is what I was here for. I was really here just to debunk them. I wasn't trying to prove the existence of extraterrestrials. I wasn't trying to prove that people were really being abducted. I wasn't even trying to prove that they were trying to lie. I was just trying to say that there was an alternative explanation for whatever these people thought was happening to them. You know what? And to be totally honest with you, I should have never got into this because it would have probably saved me. I could be retired now. All the money I spent on this. I was thinking about that yesterday. I mean, I could probably be big time retired. Callie, is that you, babe?
Yeah, it is.
How you doing? I thought I recognized that number when I seen it pop up on my screen. It's sorry, I was looking at a Capel Green update. There you go, guys. Yes, look at that
I'm
fancy
doing pretty good. In fact,
Okay.
Yeah, I'm doing good. In fact, I'm actually doing a commission work for Tom Reed. Actually.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
Yeah,
that's good.
Yeah, I'm making a illustration for his upcoming book and a 3D model for his website. And
that's a good thing. I like Tom too. I haven't talked to him in forever, but I like Tom. And I was thinking about that. I haven't talked to Tom or Melinda. I've been so preoccupied with all my own research. I really do need to just see what everybody's been up to lately and invite them on. But it's a bit, but you know how it is. You get tied up and stuff, and things get going crazy. And then of course we've had COVID all over the place. But if y'all were listening, ladies and gentlemen, to Monday's show, we were discussing about having a conference in maybe November or maybe February, January, somewhere mid-country. Because a lot of our Canadian hosts want to come down. A lot of our friends from around the country want to come. So we were thinking about doing it some way. Everybody wants me to do it in New Orleans, but it's going to be harder for people to get to New Orleans. And it's going to be hard to book in New Orleans because New Orleans got so many festivals that didn't make it this year that more than likely they're already talking about booking Voodoo Fest, Mardi Gras, and Jazz Fest in October. I don't even know how they're going to do it. There's not enough weeks in the damn month for that. So I'm not sure what they're going to do with that, but hey, it's COVID time. We ought to make concessions. Yeah. Even the aliens are like screwing him. But this was just cracked me up the other day. So a friend of mine calls me. She goes, "Yep, they abducted me the other day, and the damn gray was wearing a mask, Joe." And I was like, "No way, man." She's like, "Yeah." I'm pretty sure it was a joke, but still, it was wearing a mask. Nobody else was wearing a mask. Nobody on the ship. None of the other aliens. But you don't watch it. The evil ones watching. I gotta behave.
You think that they'd be immune to it because I give it?
Yeah, I don't think. I think it was just a joke for her. She said because she panics every time she gets taken on board the ship. She's worried about catching it, not from the aliens, but from another human on board the ship. And I'm like, well, I said I would think they would take precautions for that, but. I can't say categorically they wouldn't. It's just one of them things.
And they're not like at all willing to if anybody has the virus, they wouldn't like cure it or anything like that, or would that cause too much suspicion?
Well, they would cure it for themselves. I don't think they'd cure it for us though. I don't know what it is. Sometimes I wonder about that because it seems like every once in a big blue moon. ET will stick its nose in and change something or fix something. But for the most part, nothing big. I mean, no Fukushimas, anything like that. No let me end the wars or hunger on a planet. No, let's not nuke each other. Because the other day, Strategic Command put out a thing saying they thought it was imminent, that there was going to be a war between the United States and Russia or the United States and China sometime in near future. And I was like, well, thanks for that vote of confidence. I said, why would China want to start a war with us? Nobody in the Northern Hemisphere can start a war. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who nukes who, people. All the contamination, we all share the same trade winds. All got the same jet stream. All that means is if we nuke Hong Kong or we nuke Beijing, the radiation is going to rain on LA and New York 6 weeks later. That's all it means. So people, you got to think about those kind of things when you start talking about. And don't think Ping don't know that, or Putin don't know that, or who's president now, Biden don't know that. They all know that. So unless they just plan on living underground for the rest of their lives, I just don't see them starting a war. Oh shit! Sorry, people. I hit the camera.
Yeah, then again, don't underestimate the incompetence of people or just what people are willing to do. Like I think the Capitol riots kind of proved that. But it does actually that kind of reminds me of a question that I've been pondering about that. Do aliens ever like give their thoughts or opinions on like what's going on in like our culture, like in our politics or like our social issues, or do they just don't seem to care enough to give an
Well,
opinion?
the Greys don't even care at all. They could give a good blank. So, there's a lot of people say the reptilians and the humans identify, but I don't believe that either because I just don't see that anywhere. Our problem is we want to blame the reptilians for our crappy politicians. No, people, our politicians are just crappy. And it's not because they're reptilians or demons or any other damn thing. It's because you people let them get away with stuff, so they suck. I can't help it. I wish they were demons. At least then I could send Michelle over there to exercise their asses. But unfortunately, that's not the problem. I mean, actually, if they were demons, she'd already be up there exercising Justin Castro. So it's just not happening, people. I don't think they're aliens. I don't think they're any of that. Like I said, I really wish there was because I would explain some bad stuff going on Earth. But actually, what it really is,
because
people,
that assumes like just like pure. That again, it kind of seems like just pure negative intent on the aliens' part. Like they seem more on the the neutral side, chaotic neutral at best.
Yeah.
Like chaotic given like what happens during certain abductions. So,
but and it's weird because in the beginning, that's why I was setting up the beginning of the show so people knew when I got into this field because a lot of people don't know I was a debunker in the very beginning. I wasn't pro any of this, and I was a hard and wait, people. What's his name? Is Bad Astronomy. He'll tell you I'm still a debunker in a lot of things, paranormal, ufology. I debunk a lot of stuff, guys. I ain't gonna lie to y'all.
Yeah.
But because you just don't, when I got in this field, I really thought these people had some kind of condition, some kind of PTSD or something along those lines. Something happened. Maybe they were molested as a child. Maybe daddy kicked them in the just something other than extraterrestrials coming in their house, dragging them out of the house, doing whatever they're going to do to them, and then bringing them back, and then taking their kids and grandkids and great. It didn't make sense. Not then. It does now, but back then it made no sense to me whatsoever. I was like, and I knew the people. A lot of these people I knew, so I knew they weren't nuts. I remember the first time I was still in the Nimitz, and I was talking with one of the pilots. He's a captain, well on his way to a flight captain. He's well on his way to being promoted up to the next rank up, which is basically they don't have colonel in the Navy, so they're basically like a one step off of an admiral, commodore or something. And he's sitting there we're in a flight line. He's telling me all about it. And again, I don't know why he decided to tell me. He don't know me from Bean. How did he know I wasn't going to go run around the ship saying, "Oh, our captain said he's been abducted by aliens," which of course I didn't, but he didn't know that. He just starts telling me about what happened to him and how it happened. He said he was coming in. They had been out on some. They were using A7 Corsair 2s or E's actually, which is they say Corsairs are just in the old days they were a prop plane, but today we don't use it anymore. But they're just a jet. They're not a supersonic jet. They're just a bomber jet that goes about 600 miles an hour. But he said they were coming home in one of them. They were pushing it when this thing came out of nowhere. There was a flight of them, which was 6 or 7, and this thing came up and they said it just started shadowing and they were pushing the planes, but they didn't want to push them too far because these things were like rattle traps, man. You push them too far, they're going to probably fly apart. And he said all of a sudden there was like negative gravity. His words. He said it was like negative gravity. He said, and we were on the radio. He said all of us were talking to each other and everybody started experiencing the same thing. He said, I started lifting from my seat. The plane just kind of paused midair. All the instruments just paused. He said, I felt like I was being bathed in this warmish, bluish, whitish light. And the next thing I know, I get the Enterprise going, "You're not clear for land. You're not clear to land. Pull up, pull up, pull up, pull up." And he was coming in for a landing on the carrier. He didn't even know it. He was coming in for a landing on a damn carrier. And of course, he said, they had to report it because it's required that the pilots report it. They're just not supposed to talk about it, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. So if a pilot has an experience like this, they're actually supposed to report it to their commanding officer. And then after that, they'll probably be psych evaluated. And then the report will be filed wherever it's filed, and everybody will go on with their natural course of their life. It's a very weird thing.
I wonder if any of those have been any of those things have been released by the Pentagon or the CIA files, because I've been reading a lot about like how that kind of information is being released in recent months.
Yeah, well, the Trumpster was trying to get a lot of stuff released. He must be a believer because he was really pushing. It's much more so than any other president I've ever seen, except for maybe Clinton. He was really pushing to get the UFO information out. I don't know what he thought he was going to find, or maybe he knew something that we didn't know. I'm not sure what it was, but he was pushing hard to get it out. Not just that, there was other things he thought we should know about. What was he had said on a speech one time? He said, if it's more than 50 years old, the public should be aware of it. And that's because they wanted to put out Kennedy, because there's a lot of stories that what happened to Kennedy, but everybody says that the FBI or the NSA know exactly what happened. They figured it out. But for some reason, they don't want to tell us. And then one of the guys said, it might have been because one of the foreign countries might have been involved and it would be an act of war. Well, not today it wouldn't be. We'd be like, so somebody put a hit on our president 50 years ago. There's not much we can do about it today. It's not like we're going to start World War III over it. I mean, Christopher, I don't think the aliens would stop it if they started World War III. I don't know if they would stop the nukes from falling. I believe they have the technology to clean the planet up. So I don't know. And remember this, ladies and gentlemen, if it's not an all-out nuclear war, the Southern Hemisphere will probably go unscathed. It's going to be the Northern Hemisphere that gets cremated. 4 billion people did, wasteland. Go ahead, Cal.
Yeah, so I'm becoming like less and less convinced that if we go into another war, that we actually use nukes. Like, there's not other ways to like bomb the other side than just using nukes. Like we've probably been saying like automatic drones or machines, and then send nukes in. So, but anyway, you want to say something?
No, go ahead.
Well, saying I was gonna say going back to the UFOs. I read that the topic for tonight's show was are alien abductions real? How do you know they're fake or not? And it kind of made me think about Tom Reed's case and what I'm and the project I'm doing for him. Since I'm depicting the UFO, something I know that's interesting about it. The way it's shaped, it's kind of like the sausage shape, but also it has you have a top and bottom and middle, kind of like those macaroons, which are kind of like these French cookies that are similar to Oreos for all the grooves and stuff. But along with that, it also various lines running down it, and he described it as having a texture similar to snake skin or a turtle carapace on the outside. And from anybody they know that's got a clear view of a UFO, have you heard similar descriptions to that?
Well, it sounds like one of the Gray's craft, actually, especially when you describe the skin. Now, see, as far as I know, there's probably 40, 50 versions of the saucer, maybe more than that. And the saucer is a bad word for it. Anyway, it would be more like when people talk about flying saucers, it wouldn't be like if you were holding a saucer and you played. It was like if you took 2 of them, flipped them upside down and stuck them together. That would be the saucer shape that they're talking about, with the ring on top, the ring in the middle, and the ring on the bottom. That's that's something that's been cited since the mid 1400s, 1500s. So it's a classic. We can say that much. But there's versions of that. Like sometimes there'll be a gap in the middle. It'll be raised. Okay, so you still have the top and bottom rings, and you still have the middle ring, but in between the rings, it'll be raised. There'll be a space there, like it was expanded. Sometimes the tops and bottoms are larger. Sometimes they're smaller. Sometimes they slope up. Sometimes they ring around. I'm sure each one it's a specific craft for something, but I couldn't tell you what. I mean, they might be scout craft or high-speed craft or military craft or just something for shooting around shuttles. It's hard to say, but they all have organic skin. All of them have organic skin. That's a common theme with all of them. When you touch them, it's not like a hard metal. It doesn't feel cold to the touch. It's not like steel. It's not like any of those type of metals. It's a lot of people call it liquid metal. It may be a liquid metal. I mean, I really honestly don't know what the hell it is. All we know for sure is the craft seem to be alive, and it seems to be some type of skin that's radiation proof, bulletproof, high speed proof, defies gravity proof, has its own inbuilt lighting into the skin itself. It's weird. I mean, the craft are very weird. And I had one guy describe one as a spotted boa constrictor. He said it was like a boa. He said the skin of the ship was like a boa constrictor skin, but with leopard spots on it. And he said as it picked up and started to move, and the skin started to shift and change its shape and its color. He said the ball started blurring and streaking, and I was like, well, maybe it was spinning. I mean, I wasn't there, so I don't know what it was, but yeah, literally, if I had $1 for every time somebody described a flying saucer to me, I could retire. There's a lot of different descriptions of them, and I mean, some of them are just subtle. Some of them are the same thing seen from a different angle. Maybe seen from below or seen from a 45 or something like that. But that one everybody posted yesterday, where that UFO is doing that, I'm calling that a fake, man. I don't care what they say. I'm calling that a fake. Well, first off, that kind of design isn't going to fly like that anyway. That's not how you would fly a craft like that. You're not going to tilt up a saucer to take off into the air like that. You might just have a magnetic field and raise it, or it just doesn't make any sense that you would do it like that. Because especially the way they run, it would be easier to move side by side with energy or magnetic waves and push yourself up and down like that. At high speeds, you don't want to be on a tilt. You might flip over, hit an air. I just don't make any sense they would do that. Not at the speeds they're traveling.
Then again, they seem.
Yeah.
Then again, from like I understand about UFOs, they kind of like move whatever direction that they want in a way. So like I feel like it's like more like warping space and anything, unless that causes some kind of visual distortion that would be too noticeable. Like I don't know. I'm not.
When they tilt like that, that suggests there's some type of ailerons or flaps or something along those lines, some type of something on a jet engine or something that's moving it up and down. It doesn't sound like a typical UFO because they have a different type of propulsion. Anything pushing itself up on an angle is using some kind of thrust. And that just doesn't sound like a real UFO to me. It sounds like it'd be one of ours, but I don't think it's one of theirs. It just doesn't ring true to be one of theirs. But yeah, people get mad about it all the time. I'm like, people, common sense, use logic. Yeah. But I got an advantage. I mean, I do have an advantage. I was avionics, for buku time in the Navy, so I have a better understanding how flight works. But it ain't that hard to see that how our craft work versus their craft. It's just a big difference in the way they move. And I don't see that changing anytime soon. Yeah.
Yeah. So even if it's like not an alien craft, like you said, possibly it could be like something that humans made, like. So, like, do you think, like, it was actually this shape, or do you think it was just some, like, distortion in the photo? Like, it looks like something else. Like, what do you think it actually is? That's a good question.
Well, somebody sent me a blown-up picture. In the blown-up picture, it looks like a disc. But from the first picture I seen, it did kind of look like some type of distortion. Like, it looked like a fast mover coming up on an angle that somebody caught on, like, the backside of the plane or the backside. Because people, believe it or not, sometimes planes look like discs. Depends how you hit them. And sometimes they look like sticks in the air. It's really weird. It's all about the way you take the shot and how they're moving. That's why sometimes people say, oh, it's hovering in the air, but it's a plane moving straight at them. It's not actually hovering in the air. It's because it's moving straight towards you. It just seems like it's hovering. But that's common mistakes people make. Like somebody asked me the other day, how can people get confused with Venus? I said, a lot of people think Venus is UFO. They see something weird in the sky, and it does look like, if you're following the night sky, it does look like Venus is moving, even though it's the Earth that's moving, but still. It's just what I think.
And another thing I wanted to ask about, I think I've asked you this before a long time ago, but just to bring it up again, that's relevant to the topic. Like several years back, I made a 3D depiction of the alien that Tom Reed encountered, and I believe I shared it with you before. Like it had had an ant-shaped head, like very long legs that kind of bend upward and stuff. And you said that that's probably not what the aliens that Tom Reed and his family encountered actually looked like.
It's probably it sounds like, actually, with the exception of the head, it sounds like a tall gray. And the tall grays or the whites, whatever you call them, their heads are kind of weird shaped. I mean, they're not that big, huge. That's something else. And this is really serious abduction criteria here, but people don't know this. So the 3-foot grays' heads are bigger than the 6-foot or 7-foot or 9-foot. The heads actually get a little smaller as they get taller. They're not this huge. Yeah. Like say the grays head. This is way out of proportion, people. Let's say the gray head, the 3-foot grays head's this big. When you get to the queen, her head is only about this big. It's still bigger than ours by a good bit, but it's not the size of that weird gray head that everybody sees. And that's strict abduction criteria. That's why we don't talk about it, because nobody knew about it. It's one of the things we were keeping secret for a while, because it helps us to know who's lying and who's telling the truth. But their heads do get smaller. And people do describe, I hate to call them antennae, But some people do say they see what appears to be antennae, and we know some have
Or
seen them with
feelers.
wing, yeah, or feelers. It could be with arrows, feelers, and some say the queens and her escorts have wings. So, they actually sound like giant ass termites to me, to be honest with you. But I really don't know.
Yeah, they
You
do.
know,
Yeah, well, what you've told about like how their social organization works, they do sound like ants in a
they
caste
do.
system. So like, yeah, and the alien I depicted for Tom Reed, it did have antennae. So like the best way I could describe the head, like it seemed more almost like more horse-like, but rounded, like very bald on top. The face kind of slopes a bit, like I don't know if like gray aliens have like heads look different when viewed from the side, kind of like how you can't tell how a human alien has a elongated
Yeah,
head
until
if
you
you
look sideways at him.
look
That's
down from
true.
the front.
Yeah,
Yeah,
looking face on, you wouldn't know. And that's the same
yeah.
thing with the
About
grays, because with the like with the 3 foot gray. So when you see their face, their front of the face is kind of broader, but when their head swings around, it actually kind of rounds backwards to the back side of their head. So it actually gets a little smaller as it goes back. And that's another thing people just don't talk about because it's details we take, but it's not details anybody else pays attention to because most people I find aren't really looking for the truth. They're just looking to make a name or to get a little press or something else. So that they miss over easy stuff like that you can use to. There's even like I don't want to call it a ball, but in the back of the gray's head, there's a. You know what it kind of looks like? If you've ever seen a dolphin's head where the lines slope up as it's going to its blowhole, it kind of looks like that. But there's no blowhole there, but it kind of looks like that. It's kind of weird. See, that's the
yeah,
thing. Sometimes we think that maybe the Greys have a reptilian, insect ancestry. Sometimes it sounds like they may have a dolphin ancestry. We just don't know. 'Cause
yeah.
as
They
far as
don't
we know,
seem
it could
very
be either way.
aquatic. Yeah, though, or I think it's more so they have like have characteristics that that are similar to various kinds of organisms, but they're a completely different organism
Well, I agree they're
in their
completely
own
different,
class.
but they have an interest in you
Yeah.
in dolphins, and dolphins seem to have an interest in them. That's what's really weird. The dolphins seem to have as much interest in as the grays have in the dolphin. Could they be kindred? Could they be a relation? It's no way of knowing. And we
Yeah.
do know one thing we do know
Watching.
about the dolphins is, or a couple things we know about them. We know their brains are bigger than humans. They have two more senses than we do. They're probably a bit older than we are. They do have a straight spine with fingers and toes in their fins. So they were at one time an
They don't have
upwalk.
toes. They actually don't have toes they don't have toes
No,
in
they
their
have five
in their
bones.
hind fins.
No, they have five on their fins, and both their top
Well,
and
the
bottom
front
fins. They have
flippers,
five
yeah,
bones in each one,
yeah,
just
yeah.
like a
But
foot,
I'm
just
talking about
like a
like the
hand. And that's what they were
yeah,
talking
but
about. I just watched a big special on this. They said at one time dolphins were land mammals, no ifs, ands, or buts about
yeah,
it.
yeah,
But they also think that they climbed out of the ocean, climbed onto the land, and then climbed back from the land back into the ocean. So that in itself is a quarry. So you evolved in the ocean, got your ass out of the ocean, did some kind of evolution on land, and then went back to the ocean and re-evolved. In the time that humans hadn't even evolved yet, it's mind-boggling why a species would even do that.
well, it depends. Well, there's various situations like a lot of it has to do with seems to do with environmental pressures. Like maybe there's less food, or the land that they were living on became too hostile. Like it was more beneficial to go back to the ocean, be on fish, than to like hunt for animals on land.
It was probably
And
easier to get. It was probably easier to get food in the oceans, but
yeah,
I would have thought there was more predators in the oceans as well, much
yeah,
bigger predators too. So I
yeah,
gotta, it's one of them things that never made any sense to me. Here's a fully evolved animal, comes out of the ocean, comes on land, evolves to almost up walking right animal, and then for some reason, and it could be environmental pressures, could have been calderas, could have been a lot of things, send them back in the ocean. But what bothers me is we don't know when they talk about these things coming out of the ocean. So was this an isolated area? So maybe we're talking about Europe or America, South America, or because if this was a global thing, then there's part of the species should still be around today. Some of the
yeah,
upwalking ones should have made it, and they didn't. I guess maybe
yeah.
when the meteor came, maybe that wiped out the rest of them. It's hard to say. I mean, it
Yeah,
really is
don't
because
get
now.
yeah, no, yeah, though looking like evolution in whales and dolphins. Never once I've read about about them having like bipedal or upright ancestors, and particularly like when you mentioned straight spines, like bipedal straight spines are not a characteristic of bipedalism, like S-shaped spines are. In fact, the only kind of animals that have
No, no.
straight spines are like
When we talk about straight spines, we talk about spines that we go from the neck to the base. Is what we're talking about. Whereas other animals, because of the tail and other things, the spine is actually set differently. They talk about this. You can actually go. There's a place on web. You can go look right now, guys. They got a human and a dolphin spine side by side. There ain't much difference between them. They look a lot alike. Matter of fact, the only thing else on the planet that even comes close to them is the damn primates. So you figure it out. I have no idea what it meant.
Yeah.
We know they're land, they're oxygen breathing. We know they have bigger brains than we do.
Though not proportion to their bodies. Like when it comes to like brain size to body proportion, humans have the larger brains, and also not all of the brain. Just because they have a larger brain, like some of the areas.
No.
The
You do know you're wrong on this. The dolphin has 2 more hemispheres than the human brain does. You do know that, right? 2 more. Yeah. It's actually a bigger, more advanced brain than ours. Nobody argues that their language is more advanced than ours. That's one of those things. When people listen to dolphins click and beep, their language is bigger than ours. It's a much more evolved language than ours is. So you're talking about a species that evolved in the ocean, that has more senses than we do, and has a bigger language than we do, but yet we're saying we're the more evolved species. You're going to have to prove that to me. Just because we got technology does not mean we're the more evolved species. It just means we're more technologically evolved. Does not mean we're more, because dolphins seem to be telepathic at the very least. We know their sonar works almost like telepathy, so they're a much different beast than we are. And, they're not around blowing up the planet. They inhabit 3/4 of the world, and they don't seem to be needing to kill everybody. I don't know, guys.
I don't. Again, they don't seem to be able
alone with humans can't seem to even get a quarter of the planet occupied. I'm just saying, when it comes down to intelligence, it's whoever occupies the majority of the planet is the guy who's the smartest, not the dumbest.
Yeah. Then again, that wouldn't be dolphins or humans. That would be ants. Like ants live on virtually every
animals. I didn't say nothing about insects. Ants are insects. It's a whole different thing. Last I heard, there was 4 feet of insects on the planet if you were to stack them all up. That's how deep it would be. If you killed all insects at one time on Earth, it would be 4 foot deep, people. Yeah, don't ask me. That's science. But what are you going to do? They're probably wrong, because I remember when they said, when all that ice melts, the oceans are going to raise 100 feet. My ass. They ain't even going to get close to 10 feet, much less 100 feet. I was like, Jesus, man. But that's the problem. Everybody lies all the time. You don't want, be honest, because people would get serious about climate change if every time somebody didn't talk about it, didn't turn out to be some kind of lie, or I should say misinformation. It might be a better word to use.
We really don't know how to get off topic. First we talk about aliens, and then dolphins, and then climate.
I love dolphins. Dolphins at Mars. Look, I'm taking some dolphins to Mars. Me and Elon decided we're gonna bring some dolphins.
Yeah, so you have to make sure make sure you flood the planet before you bring them to Mars.
Oh no! They got they're building inside Olympus Mines. They're building a pool for them. Oh yeah, man, we bringing dolphins. Elon is insane. He's moving, y'all. He said he's off this planet. He said, "You stupid humans are on your own." He is headed for Mars. And I said, "I want to go with you." He said, "Yeah, well, sign on board. You can come with me, man." So I'm headed out with you guys.
Hey, that reminds me of a question, like the Mars things. Like, for example, if you were selected if you were given the opportunity to go to Mars, like, would you have yourself genetically edited if it could improve your chances for surviving on Mars?
That's
higher radiation or not requiring as much oxygen. Would you let yourself get genetically edited if it could help you increase your chances of surviving on Mars?
Well, if I had a guaranteed ticket, maybe, but not if I didn't have a guaranteed ticket, because then you'd be stuck with the modifications here. It wouldn't do you any good.
Yeah.
We don't want to be walking around high because we've changed our body chemistry. But a lot of people. I mean, I signed up for the first 2 groups. I got accepted in the first group, but there's so many, it's not like you can get to go. I got accepted in the first 300,000 people, but it doesn't matter, because by the time they would reach the 300,000, I'd have probably been dead for, I don't know, 20, 30, 40 years or something. It's not going to go that fast in the beginning. In the beginning, that first 200,000 they're talking about will probably take 2 decades to get there. But after that, it's going to go fast. Actually, if Elon and Jeff Bezos have their way, there'll be trips going back from Mars daily within a decade. So keep your fingers crossed. So maybe some people get off this rock and go hang out. Well, if they wait too
Yeah,
long, I'll
so
be too old to go,
yeah,
people. I mean, I don't want to be floating around at
yeah. Though
100.
I think the very first ones will be very miserable, like until like you make Mars much more habitable through terraforming
Well,
or
it depends
whatnot.
on who you
Like
send. If you send explorers like who explored the Wild West and people like that, they're not going to be miserable. To them, it'll be a challenge. It'll be fun.
or intro
Um,
or maybe introverts that don't like to get out of their house.
oh, that too, you know. But there are kinds of people you can send that will do better there than, you know. And I agree with you. Before you start sending everyday people, you need to make it less hostile, I guess would be a better way of saying it. But it would be better to make it that way, you know, make it more hostile and make it less hostile. Maybe the aliens will come
Yeah.
visit us if we live on Mars. You know, they come and stop abducted us and come hang out and say, hey, wow, y'all got off the planet. We might have to actually seriously talk to you for a little while and act like you're humans and not little
Yeah, so
animals
do
we
you think-
thought you were.
Yeah, do you think they would actually like stop any attempt to leave the planet, like by humans?
We're going to find out real soon.
Yeah.
I know Jeff Bezos said, ladies and gentlemen, he would start putting, actually, they're going to start putting tourists. They're going to give them some free tourist trips away if you want to go in space, by the way. So
Yeah.
some people are going to get to go to space, but they're planning on having a functional ship to start bringing tourists in space by the end of the year. He's saying within 5 years, they should have a hotel in space and you can go stay in a hotel. Their goal, him, Jeff Bezos, and several other billionaires' goals are to make it so that, like, if me and Callie wanted to go, it wouldn't be anymore like if we were flying out to LA or to New York or something. That's how they want it to be. And then they're building 2 different spaceports now. One's in New Mexico, one's going to be in Arizona. And they're getting serious about this. Space is the future. It's where the money's going to be.
Yeah.
It's where the resources are going to be. Space is the future. And ET will probably keep us inside of our solar system for some time to come, I will imagine.
Yeah.
You know, maybe when we finally get to faster than light technology or wormhole technology, maybe they'll rethink. But right now, they don't want us leaving. And we can leave with stepping stone technology. We can leave. It'll take 8 years, but we can leave. In 8 years, we could be at Proxima Centauri, people. We could do it even faster than that if we really wanted to try. But
I don't know how I don't know where you're getting like 8 years, like 8 years from now or 8 years after developing some like very good propulsion.
Oh,
technology
no.
like
Well,
fusion.
no. I'm talking about no. First off, we'd have to establish a route. We couldn't. Right now, if we tried to do it, it wouldn't work because you couldn't carry enough resources. So what you'd have to do is so we'd put a base in the moon, put a base L Zone 11, put one on Mars, put probably 2 in the asteroid belt, put another one on one of the moons in Io, put another one on one of the moons of Saturn, put another one out around Pluto or Charon, somewhere around there, put another one out on the other side of the Oort cloud. So when you get to the other side of the Oort cloud, you're only 1.5 light years from Proxima at that point.
Yeah.
So then you put
then,
one
like,
7
like,
light years out. But wait, then you put one 7.5 light years out from where you are. So then you're only 0.5 light years from Proxima. So that's half a year at light speed. At half a light speed, that's only a year flight. That's nothing. I mean, they spent longer than that. Ships, ocean.
But we haven't yet got. Except problem is we haven't built anything that can even go half the light.
Well, we know how to get to faster than half a light speed. We just don't know how well it's going to hold together when we get there.
Yeah.
Well,
and
people don't
believe
that shit that there's no friction in space. They just proved that was wrong.
Yeah.
I hate to be the bubble burst. As always, it's a vacuum. There's no friction in space. We found that is not true, and that's why Einstein's theory works. Because if there was no friction in space, his theory wouldn't work. It wouldn't matter how fast you go. You would never build any friction. So it wouldn't matter. But now if there's any kind of resistance against it, anything, just even a millimeter of resistance against it, when you start going faster, it's going to just start increasing until finally you're going to have X amount of, you'd have to have an unlimited power supply in order to go to the speed you're going. So we'll see where it goes. Right now, I think we'll achieve half light speed probably in this decade. Probably by 2030, 2035. Not manned. We're going to probably, there's a new, it's not an ion drive. It's a plasma drive, but it's not an ion drive. They were talking about it the other day. They said it should be able to achieve half light speed, but it kind of sounds like a pulse drive to me. So there's a combination of things they're going to do with this drive, people. So they're going to start it off on a rocket like they always do, and then they're going to put it to trajectory towards planets so it can help speed it up. But it pulses its engine. It has some type of nuclear fueled engine that pulses. So every time it comes around a planet as it's picking up the speed, it adds a pulse to it and it doubles its speed. So they're saying it, but they just don't know if it can hold up they think they can go faster than half light speed. They just don't know if it's going to hold up faster than that. And this ain't going to be that big. I think we're talking about maybe car size, maybe a little bit bigger than that. So we'll see how that works. And then there's another design, what they call a shutter engine. So it's basically they're overloading a nuclear reactor until the point of explosion, and then they release the energy through a port. And they say it'll easily probably kill you, but go ahead.
Yeah. And I remember seeing a design for like a type of spacecraft based on using solar sails for its main source of propulsion. Like, what do you think? What's your opinion on those kind of crafts using solar sails?
I like solar sails. I just don't think they're going to do real well with all the debris in the solar system. See, if in other words, like when we're in interstellar space, I think they'll be great because there's nothing there. And people, in case y'all don't know, we found that just recently, thanks to the voyages, that when you get to the edge of our solar system, there's a packed up energy supply there. So it's like it slows us down and then it sends it off. They found that out with Voyager because of the way it crossed through it. It actually was resistant. Voyager found resistance in deep space. Everybody was like, wait a minute. What do you mean resistance? There's no resistance in space. So they don't know if that was dark matter or some type of energy wave, but they found resistance. And then as it passed through the side of it, it kind of started to push it. Now we also found out something recently. There is going through the middle of our solar system, there's a highway that actually accelerates stuff. We found that out just recently too. So we're learning, and eventually we'll use all these things to get shit out of our solar system at least close to light speed, if not faster. My problem with light speed is I don't think it's unachievable. I just don't know how we're going to map shit at light speed until we actually go out and explore it first.
Yeah. Hey, and that just reminds me, like, make me just think of something. Like, if you only worry about debris until, like, if you have to worry about debris when you're in the solar system, but once you're out of it, you don't have to worry about that. Like, what if you had, like, design spacecrafts that first uses, like, powered propulsion, like that pulse engine or whatnot, to get out of the solar system, then unfurls.
I think it would be a great way to do it. I think it would be a way to maintain and to pick up speed. And it would be something that doesn't have physical. I mean, it wouldn't be something that required fuel other than the cosmic waves in space, and we know they're there, and we know they're in deep space just like they're in the solar system. So we know.
Yeah, and if there really is this like cosmic stream that causes some kind of propulsion, do you think a solar sail could capture that to move toward its target destination?
I think so, because the way the gentleman from NASA was talking about it the other day, he sounded like it would be like sailing, like tacking a sail. If anybody's ever sailed, y'all know what I mean by tacking a sail. I think they're talking about the same thing with this energy wave. Somehow or another, you could either line the ship up or line the sail up, so it's catching the wave and it's pushing you along just like a sail would do. And that's basically how solar sails are going to work, because when you get into deep space or you're approaching another solar system, the waves would be running against you. So you'd have to tack the sail to pick up the energy and come in on an angle so that you would still be getting propulsion and not being, like when air hits the front of a sail, it pushes it in and slows the boat down. It doesn't speed it up. The wind has to come in and catch it to be pushed along. And it's the same thing with the waves. It's going to be the same thing. I've seen several solar sails. I've seen, I know Russia tried to deploy one that burnt up in a probe. The U.S. talked about deploying one when they deployed. Remember when they deployed that tether to see how it picked up that energy? That was an interesting experiment that they never repeated for some reason. And DARPA said they got some new stuff out. So I mean, not we're going to see anytime soon, but I mean, DARPA's got test flights now breaking Mach 15 on a straight path. So they got some kind of serious engine going on over there. I don't know what the hell it is. And no, Jennifer, anything can break Mach 15 coming in from atmosphere. I think the shuttle's average. The shuttle went in between Mach 25 and Mach 35 when it came back from space. And so that's not unheard of. And if you pay attention to the shuttle, you'll notice it doesn't nosedive in when it comes in. It comes in almost on a flat, just enough tilt, but it doesn't come in on a hard tilt. No, because it would wreck it up. If it came in like this, it would just flip it back. You can't do that.
Yeah,
the friction doesn't work.
I think like you need to have it at a tilt to survive the friction of.
But it's not a serious tilt. Yeah, it's not like a hard tilt. It's more like 3 or 7 degrees. It's but it's enough that it creates the friction, but it also slows you down. Think about this, people. This thing is slowing you down, and you're still doing Mach 25. I mean, that's freaking, any way you look at it, that's just flat out hauling ass. You can orbit the planet pretty quick at Mach 25. I'm just saying. Russians couldn't shoot you down. Nobody could shoot you down, actually. You could be drop missiles on people's head. The missile would, by the time they saw you, the missile would already been on a target. They'd be like, oh, shit, what happened here? Mm-hmm. Y'all don't remember when you were kids and you'd see a plane go by and then a minute later you'd hear boom, boom, boom? Yeah, same thing.
Yeah. Hey, I have one last question to kind of bring it back to the UFO topic. Since in the past year or half year or so, has there been any interesting new cases, whether it's either sightings or abductions that ICAR has gotten a record of?
There've been a lot of news. There've been a lot of weird new stuff lately. It's not we can really talk about yet, but COVID seemed to, how can I say this? Change the way some of the contactees deal with their abductions. The only way I can say it. It's not that ET changed the way they were doing anything; they really didn't. But the way the person copes with it seemed to change considerably. And I guess if you're already stressed out of your mind because you're worrying about COVID killing you or anything along those lines, and whoever asked me that question a minute ago, no, abductees aren't so much about age; it is just family lines. Yeah, it's just one of those things. Yeah, it's a family line thing. So they abduct in family line. So they don't really care what age you are. It's just whatever you happen to be in their program at the time. No, they were asking. I know the question was, do they prefer older people than younger people? But that's not how that works. It's not a preference about age. But they have done some new stuff this year, and we have seen some things, and then we've heard some new information about actually off-world colonies, including Mars. That would be interesting if Elon Musk got there and the Greys were like, "What the hell are you doing on our planet, buddy? We didn't invite you here." I mean, you'd be like,
or stage some kind of accident, or stage something that looks like an accident. Would they deliberately kill people if they didn't want people to go on Mars? Or
I think they would just wave them off or turn them around. That's what they seem to do with Apollo 11. So, they would just no. Because you notice no one is going back to the moon. And Russia, China, Japan, and India can go. They're just not. They're sending probes and rovers, but nobody wants to go land there for some reason. You got 5 countries in the world right now that can land on the moon, and none of them want to go there. None of them. Trump was going to go build a base on the moon because he thought it was time to put a base on the moon, but nobody else wanted to have anything to do with it. And I was like, I don't get it. I mean, the moon's a great place to be. All that helium-3s up there, we could be mining that and sending that shit back. I mean, God, you could have vehicles and power off that. I don't get it. That's confusing.
No, I don't know. Maybe risk, risk economics. I don't know. I feel like these things are just very complicated.
Well, think about it, Cal. You and I could build a damn ship that could get to the moon that would harvest helium-3 and would send it back on a return. I mean, most drones we have now could do that. I mean, you'd have to self-encapsulate them in a little rocket to send them there. But shit, once they got there, they'd go around, do their business. Little air thrusters here, harvest their little stuff, put it in a little canister, and blast it back off to Earth. It's not like you need a real complicated system to do it.
Yeah.
Send it back to Earth.
Do we have we developed an effective means of converting helium-3 into energy?
Actually, I've heard several people say they can do it, but for some reason, there's just not a big enough supply here to really try it. And that's another confusing thing. Why is there so much on the moon and not hardly any on the planet?
I think because Earth
did it get returned or
at the moon?
Yeah, maybe so. Or maybe as our planet turns and churns, it just got buried deeper or something. I didn't think about it like that, but I guess it could have. There may be helium-3 here, just down deeper. But it's on the surface of the moon. From what I forgot which one of the astronauts said, it's about a foot thick across the entire surface. So I would think go up there with a giant vacuum, fill up some tubes, and send them back. And at least if we had it here, they could at least be trying to convert it. So, I watched a dark matter experiment. Guys, I'll catch you on the abduction stuff this week if I don't. But I watched a dark matter experiment. I mean, not dark matter, antimatter experiment the other day. And I'm thinking, so they get the antimatter, they catch the antimatter. So it was contained. I think they set a record. And by the way, people, it was the record was 0.8 or 0.80 milliseconds. It's some ridiculously non-existent amount. For most humans, you wouldn't even know what 0.80 milliseconds is. You just wouldn't have no idea. You couldn't even speak a word. You couldn't even spit in that short of a time. But they did contain it. and they did figure out that they could convert it and use it energy. So their biggest problem right now is a containment system that can just hold it indefinitely. Because from what they were saying, it can be easily converted into electricity or anything for that matter. It's not even really that complicated to change it. He said, because you're just introducing the two, one, the matter versus antimatter in a mix, and it just runs. And it just creates energy, and you just feed off the energy. It can turn turbines, create electric, and do all kind of shit. But for some reason,
I think it's maybe because like they want to save enough if we wanted to seriously try to build like a faster than light propulsion, like warp drive or something. Like, cause I'm pretty sure like from like what I've looked up on this like Alcubierre drive, like that's like looked into by NASA, that would require like exotic matter or antimatter or something to like make it work, to create that warp field around a ship. And I'm assuming you need a good bit of it for that to work. So like it'd be kind of wasteful to like use it up just to get some electricity.
Yeah, well, I guess I keep hearing about these new fusion reactors, and maybe that'll do it. I mean, I have heard really positive stuff about fusion, guys. It looks like we'll see it within 5 to 10 years. Well, let me rephrase that. Yeah. There are 2 active fusion plants running right now. So remember, just a decade ago, we didn't even think fusion was real. Well, one guy said, or 2 guys said they proved it existed, but the rest of the scientist community thought it was bullshit and had for some years. And all of a sudden, Boeing came out and a couple of companies come out and said by 2020 we'll have working prototypes in place, and they do. So is it exactly? Well, think of it this way: fission, guys, is when we split the atom. Okay, fusion's a little bit different. Fusion is we're combining two to create energy. Basically, what we're doing. So it's a little bit different, and it doesn't give off that serious radiation. Fusion is just better for us all the way around. It's safer, cleaner. It's just a better form of energy for man, and it's a more production energy. I mean, that's what the sun runs on. So you figure it out, guys. Don't get me wrong. I'm not against nuclear power as long as there's ways to clean it up and to deactivate the contamination. I don't have a problem with it. But if we can have fusion versus fission, I'd much rather have fusion. I just think it would be a better way. And then when we're talking about pulse drives and shit, I think fusion would be the way to go. I think you get more energy, more power. But I'm going to say this again before I get back to the other subject, guys. Faster than light is not going to be the problem. I guarantee you somebody will figure out how to go faster than light speed or figure out how to do a wormhole, because we learned something from Jupiter. When light approaches Jupiter, it slows down. And then as it goes past Jupiter, it speeds up. It actually slows slower than light speed and speeds up past light speed, which for decades, everybody said was impossible. Well, we found that it is not impossible. So we know you can go faster than light speed now. We know that as sure as we know anything else on the planet. So what does it mean? It doesn't mean anything right now. But sooner or later, it will. Just like the other day, I was watching the experiment where they were transporting, what was it, the matter block? It's data, people. We're transporting, it's a quantum computer, basically, is what it is. And we're teleporting data. Not humans, not material, nothing else. It's just data. But it's a significant experiment. I'm just saying. Doesn't mean nothing to you right now, but 10 years from now, 20 years from now, it's going to be a significant thing. In 20 years, it'll probably be the difference of having your pizza delivered or having a little thing where you just dial it in and all of a sudden it appears next to you. I'm telling you, that's what's coming. Give it time, but it's headed that way. It's going to take a little while, but we're getting there. It's just part of where we headed in our society. Hey, think about what's nice about that to me is if you want to go to Paris for dinner, it's no longer going to cost you $5 to get on an airplane. You just go over to the little transporter place, hop on, zip over, go have dinner, come back, do your thing. It won't be like that in the beginning, but eventually it'll be like that. It'll take a little while, but we're headed for all those technologies. It's all stuff that's on the verge of coming out. That's not big secrets or hated technology. That's stuff that we're going to have. What's up, Callie?
Yeah, well, I had another question related to ufology, but before I ask that, maybe does anybody in the chat have any abduction or ufology related questions that they want to hear answer?
Oh, we're going to get to them in a minute. I got a damn list of them sitting over here next to me, but we'll get to them in a minute because I'm doing not next week, but the week after this. I'm gonna do another show on it because I've been telling everybody I'm gonna go through the abduction details, level by level. Yeah. Because there's just so much stuff that's in there. And what do you mean, Marshall? Why you had Coast to Coast? I had them invited me on last year. Write to them if you want to hear me on Coast. Write to them. That's all you got to do. adjusted to Lisa Lyon or Stephanie or any of Tom, any of them over there. Yeah,
Okay.
I leave a lasting impression, so I think they'll remember who I am. But anyway,
Okay.
it's
So like, all right, then I'll go ahead and ask my question.
good,
Like,
good.
has there been any like change in frequency of what kind of aliens abduct people, or like what are there any that are being seen less or more, or like some that you don't usually hear about, like the browns, tall whites, or light beings that like some people are seeing a little more or less or not at all, or like what's the frequency of like the type of aliens
You know what's
that are
interesting
being
for the major groups that are abducting, they're pretty much staying the same. But the tall whites, the ones out in Area 53, they seem to have become a little more prominent this year. They've been seen a few more times. There've been a couple of new witnesses that have come out about them. As far as I know, they don't abduct anybody, but they do. They can get kind of nasty when they want to. But they seem to have been being seen more. Michael, to answer your question, you mean in the casino? First time I heard the story, I didn't believe it, but not recently. The last time I heard about him frequenting a casino was in the mid 2000s, like 5, 6, somewhere up in there, 5, 6, 7, somewhere up in there. That was the last time. Very first time was in the early 90s, mid 90s, actually. Had been seen in Vegas. Hey, maybe they like to gamble. You gotta remember, not all the aliens are going to be these super brilliant that are way ahead of us. Yeah, the Greys, reptilians, and humans are, but some of these other we talk about, like the dark-eyed aliens, they're at the same technological level as we are. So I imagine they might even have some of our bad habits. Those tall whites, when you listen to Charles Hall talk, they definitely got some of our bad habits. So I mean, not all are going to be these Star Trek type aliens. They're going to be, some of them are going to be kind of nasty. Some of them might be interested. Some of them might think we're a novelty. Some might think our food's a no telling. We're going to, as we get into space, we're going to meet more. Right now, they just don't let many come to Earth because it's probably too tempting for most alien races.
I think, what I gather, and if I remember hearing you correctly, like from the last time we talked in length about tall whites, that they that they came to Earth around like 200 years ago or something on like a generation ship or something. If I
Yeah,
like saying you correctly.
it's almost like they came and parked the ship here and set up a mini base so that they, from the way it was explained to me, they use Earth as a stepping stone to get to one of the outer rims. And then out there, they got another one that they use to get, I guess, to like what would be the nearest solar system? The nearest galaxy would be Andromeda, huh? Was Andromeda nearest?
Yeah,
So they
like
say they use it for that. They use us for refueling. They just they come in, they hang out for a couple of days and do whatever. Sometimes they change personnel, and then but there's a crew or a group of them that always stays there. The tall whites that are always there, and it's a fairly large group too, from what Charles Hall said. And from the witness I talked to, the other Army witness I talked to just recently, he said they probably have 200 to 500 that are there all the time. And he said, and then you see craft come and go all the time. He said almost daily. He said there are craft coming and going. He said they just use Earth as a stepping stone. They hang out and then they dart over. He thinks they have to rest their craft between jumps. He doesn't think they're near as advanced as these other races, and they have to rest their craft. And they'd use some type of jump technology, not a gate, like maybe like a Babylon 5 technology, but they're using some type of jump technology. He says it's different than the other races.
A warp drive or something.
Yeah, he says because they're different. He said when they come in on land, and their ships kind of look like ours. They look like they're burning, engines in the back, fuel of some kind. It's probably not hard fuel like we use or liquid fuel. It's probably something else. But in a lot of ways, their technology is a lot like ours, just, maybe 2,000, 5,000 years more advanced. But it's not like the Greys, the reptilians, the humans' technology. It's way less advanced than theirs, but more advanced than ours. And there are a couple of races that visit or that don't visit here, but that hang out on the ship that are in orbit or that are in our solar system that are around the same, right above or right below us technologically, about the same understanding of the cosmos that we have. So it tells me there's races out there on our same evolution. And recently, ladies and gentlemen, we have found a shitload of planets that could probably support life. And we're not sure that two of them might not have life. So we're getting a little confused now. And then I've been staying out of the argument for Proxima, and I've been staying out of the argument for the probe or for the Astro, whatever you want to call it, damn thing.
The Onaboro, whatever.
I can never pronounce it. I always want to call it Omarosa or some shit. That's not its name, but because the argument
I know, because every time I listen to this argument, okay, first a Harvard scientist come out and says it is definitely extraterrestrial. Now he's come out again with two of his friends and said there's no doubt this thing is ET. Of course, the other community is saying you're crazy. It's not ET. It's some kind of weird asteroid / comet from deep space or from a different. So they don't know where this thing even comes from, guys. It's not from our solar system. It's not even from our neighborhood. They don't know where this thing came from. The reason why more and more scientists are thinking that it's aliens because of the tumble. It's a tumble that makes a specific gravitational field. That's one of the reasons they thought that. They said that would not have been something that was naturally occurring, and it would not be this consistent spin the way it is, because different things like approaching suns and planets would either slow or increase the spin, and that's not what happens. And as it was spinning, it increased speed, not the spinning, but the ship itself increased speed as it passed through our solar system. Like, oh shit, let me get out of here before somebody shoots at me. I'm just saying, it is a little, I'm not saying it's alien people, but ooh, it's iffy, skiffy. Yeah. It's the best thing we've had since I've been alive that could be alien. I don't want to say it is, because I don't know if it is, but it was good.
Maybe like if it was like something that we could detect, maybe it was like a tall white craft that was parking for a bit, recharging, and then making another jump.
And it's a shame. If we were just a little bit more advanced, we could have ran out there and seen, but we don't have any shuttles or anything set up right now. Yeah. In the old days, in the 80s, they could have sent a shuttle out there. Like they sent to go watch what was that meteor that went by? Asteroid that went by, they went and watched it. But they could do that today, but we just don't have that technology. Now, by the time it comes back around again, we'll all be dead and gone, and God knows what'll be on the planet by then. But we won't have to worry. But so once it's gone, it's gone. But the Proxima thing, I stayed out of it because I knew where this argument was going to go. Whether there's life in Proxima or not, they're not going to say it. There are a bunch of scientists that say this signal is not from Earth. It is definitely from Proxima. And the people who say it's here can't prove it's from here. They've been backed in the corner several times. Oh, it was interference. It was this. We'll prove it. Usually when there's interference, you can prove what it is. And that's the only way you can say it's interference, is if you can prove what it was. So no one can say what the source of interference was on Earth that caused this. And every astronomer says it came from Proxima. So if it came from Proxima, it's not artificial. Everybody agrees it's not. It's an artificial signal. It's not a natural signal. So it's either Oz or it's either an aliens. But so that's two things in the last 3 years, that suggest that there may be aliens around us. And I don't, and somebody said the other day, well, Proxima's too young, blah, blah. I said, look, we could be Jodie Foster people. It might just be a stepping stone. They might have a little base there or something, or a communication satellite or something. It doesn't have to be life that's there. It could be anywhere else. It might just be how they're communicating with us.
I never heard the argument that it was too young. I just heard that the argument that it was too irradiated.
You know who used it, and I'll tell you why they used that argument. I'm gonna tell you why that argument got used. Remember Jodie Foster's movie, whatever the hell it was called? That was one of the arguments they used. Yeah, that's one of the arguments that was used in there. Actually it was Vega, but still, that was too young for for there to be life. Still, guys, look, I think Proxima is as old as Earth is, so I'm not thinking it's too young. And whether it's there or not, there are two planets there that could have life. A lot of people agree. They say the suns are kind of chaotic and it might be a little dangerous, but if you were evolved that way, then you would have evolved a way for your body to deal with that. Just like our eyes have lenses and stuff because of our sun, your body would evolve to that. So that's not the issue. And I'm not going to take a side on this because I don't know. I did take a side on Pluto because I always told people that Pluto was going to be an active planet. Everybody said, you're crazy. It's going to be a frozen ice ball. And guess who was right? I was. There's something about the way Charon orbited around it made me think there was something tugging on it that would make it have gravity, that would cause a friction. And that's what happened. So yeah, we learned. Hey guys, I got pretty good science.
And that reminds me, last time I called you, I asked about if the aliens could say if there was any life that evolved on Proxima B, and then you said something about each solar system having a space station in each there, but that's not what I was asking for. I was asking do the aliens that are abducting us know, can they confirm or deny that there's life that evolved on Proxima B, or if it's just something
I'll tell you the last time we did a survey to 150 contactees, we asked, is there other races nearby us, near enough for humans in the near future, within 100 years, to be able to get there and visit them? And the Gray said they are countless. He said, you're going to be amazed at how many systems have life in it. And he said, not that all systems evolved there, but people have gone there since then, just like we're planning on doing. We're already planning, in case you don't notice, ladies and gentlemen, we're already planning on sending a mission to Venus. We're going to colonize Venus just like we're going to colonize Mars. And I've said this a long time ago, if you can figure out how to pipe the greenhouse gases from Venus to Mars, you can terraform 2 planets at the same time. Because in order to make Venus better, you just got to get rid of the atmosphere. I mean, get rid of the carbon, and that's doable. Just like it's doable to terraform Mars. Okay.
Yeah, except the atmosphere on Venus is a lot more toxic, so you have to filter out the toxins in Venus.
But if you're going to be transporting it, if you've got some kind of energy field or some type of tube system going to transport it from Venus to Mars, I imagine along the way you could clean that up and run it through filters. Yeah. Because I'm not saying this would be an easy task, and it is beyond our technological means today. But once we develop things like teleportation and things like that, it won't be. We can cube this shit up and freeze it and just teleport it to Mars and let it melt. There's lots of ways to terraform, and there's lots of ways to use these gases. And Callie's absolutely right, except for the very upper atmosphere of Venus is a very toxic planet. Now, there's a section of the atmosphere in Venus that's identical to Earth. That's why they think that sometime in the past it was a planet like Earth. And it probably was. It just didn't have any tidal action because there's no moons. And I guess something else could cause. I never really thought about that.
Yeah, and the other thing, like for Mars, you'd have to be able to make sure the planet retains the atmosphere that develops. Do you think there's a possibility? Do you think there's any kind of hypothetical way to boost up the core of Mars?
That's a damn good question, and I've heard many things. Real quick though, people on Venus, the gravitational spin is strong enough to keep their atmosphere on. But what Callie's talking about is on Mars. Right now on Mars, even if we were to terraform Mars right now, the atmosphere would bleed off at a pretty fast rate. It would be an ongoing project for as long as we live there, until we figure out a better way to do it. Unless we can come up with some kind of shield to hold the air in, or like Callie was suggesting, reignite that crystal core. If we could do something like that, maybe drop a couple of 500 kiloton nukes down Olympus Mons straight to the core and reignite it. If that's the case, then the magnetic field would kick back in, and it would have an atmosphere in no time at all, and it would have a breathable atmosphere in no time at all. Because you got to remember,
I wonder
if breathing atmosphere is just putting the right plants in place, or the right plankton in place in that case. But it can be done.
Or organisms of any kind. And actually, that'd be a good question to ask. I think that'd be a good question to ask the aliens, or see if they give an answer to. Is there if there's a way to start up dead cores of planets so they can develop a stronger magnetic sphere.
I can't remember his name, but Elon's number one guy, one of his very first people he ever hired for the space program, is stepping down. So he handed it over to this guy from NASA. And just 2 weeks ago, I was listening to this guy at NASA talk about this very subject, ways to reignite dead cores, because he figures as we go along, we're going to find planets all throughout the solar systems, in different solar systems, that could be used, but their cores are probably dead like Mars's. Nobody knows why Mars's cores died. Some people think it's that impact crater on the other side hit it so hard that it made everything shoot up to Olympus Mons, and that's what happened. Maybe it's true, maybe it's not. But regardless, if you can figure out how to use fission or fusion to reignite a core, you might be having something. That would make all kind of planets much more inhabitable to us. And we're going to start people, no matter what, unless we have a war in the next 20 years, we're getting off this rock. I'm telling you now, unless Russia or China or the U.S. goes apeshit crazy and nukes the world, we're getting off this planet. We're moving. It's time for humans. We need to spread out. We can't Earth is not an endless resource. And if we can go other places and grow big, lush, think about Mars. In the beginning, as we terraform it, because plants love carbon. Mars, once you get the soil right, Mars will be a great place for growing endless and boundless amounts of food, especially if you don't completely terraform it into an oxygen atmosphere. If you do something like they did in the past, whether like on Earth 60 million years ago, there was a high oxygen content, but there was a very high carbon content as well. And that's why the plants and the planet was so lush. That's why everybody tells me, well, all the carbon's going to kill us. No, all the carbon's going to make the planet much more lush and much hotter and much wetter, and that's what it's going to do. It's not going to end the planet. That's one of those tales that somebody wants to tell you to panic you. All you got to do is look at the past to know that. I mean, and people tell me all the time, well, the ice is never melted on the planet completely. And I just got to look at them like, you cannot be that stupid. And I said, the planet has been frozen over and melted more times than science can even count. It's part of the cycle. That's why I never got so upset about this climate change, because if you pay attention, Earth has cycles it goes through. And whether man did this or some cycles doing this, I'm not the guy who's going to figure that out, because I don't have those kind of degrees. My degrees in advanced electronics, avionics, and I just recently got some other stuff. I just got through finished schooling myself on, but we'll save that for a surprise show. You can't have too many degrees, people.
A couple minutes ago, like when I asked about like frequency and aliens, and you were talking about how like tall there's been more activity from tall whites like late in recent years. Like, do you think like part of it has to do with the pandemic shutdowns? Like, they feel more comfortable like going out, because since humans would be mostly locked in, and they're probably immune to the virus, so they
know what, you're probably right,
like,
because it's not just that, they can probably move around the skies more freely too. Even though today, or last night actually, on my new iPhone 12, it's got a flight tracker on it, like I got on my computers for when we're doing research. There are a lot of planes in the skies, people. For COVID time, there is a freaking lot of people flying around the planet. You'd be amazed how many people on an airplane. Be amazed how many planes just go across America, Canada, and not actually land. Oh yeah, man, I was watching one flight from Mexico City to Madrid. It went halfway across our continent and then crossed over the ocean, went and landed in Madrid. I was like, yeah, you can watch all that stuff. That's why I tell you, when you track UFOs, you should always have one of those airport things on there, along with JPL's JPEG, their satellite tracking, because you can rule out planes and satellites right off the bat, military, everything. So whatever you're left with is not going to be human. It's a good way of doing things. Christopher, no, we'll get into that next week after next, because like I said, next week we got the crew on from who do you want on? Who? Actually, you mean Daryl Sims? He's going to be following this show tonight. Yeah, the girls have him on. The ladies have him. I shouldn't call them girls. The ladies have him on. Now I'm looking forward to their Thursday show. They're going to have 3 redheads and 1 Q. I don't know what I'm going to do with myself. Oh, my God. I'm going to be like, holy manoli, did I die and go to alien heaven? No.
Yeah.
And I like, by the way, if you listen to Michelle, I like that new banner, by the way. It looks nice. Real quick, let me answer Keith's question. Marco's question right quick. Marco, I love you, man. I know y'all got a good UFO. No, I promise you we'll do it next week. To answer your question, Mark, is there are fake abductions and there's military abductions. Fake abductions, they're just somebody who feels the need to fake it for whatever reason. They need to fake it. And sometimes they're not consciously fake. What I mean by that is I'll get cases sometimes where these people know they've been abducted. All the signs that real abduction happen. But under hypnosis, avoid stress, you find out it was something else. And a lot of times on the hypnosis, it'll come out what it is. So all I can do is stop the hypnosis at that moment and say, okay, we've identified what's causing this problem for you. I'm not a psychologist. You need to go see one, because there's nothing I can do for them. Because I took a psychology course, people, but I'm not a psychologist. I could be one. I guess I could go finish the course and be one, but it's not. Look, I hear enough about people's problems now. I don't want to add any more to it. I'm not going to lie to y'all. But yeah, there are fake abductions, and there's non-physical abductions, which we were talking with somebody about the other night, where they take you, but they leave your body. Sometimes they upload you into like a hologram. Sometimes they upload you into a host body, which is not yours. It's yours, but it's not your real body. It may one day be your real body, but it's not at that time. So things like that. And, there's a lot of training exercises they do, and that's actually, you know what? Come to think about that. The amount of cases people have been calling me and telling me, talking about different types of training seems to have increased this year. And I got to thinking about it's probably because of COVID, because there's so many people at home and there's so many people bored out of their minds just hanging around. ET might be taking advantage of it. They do adjust to us on the way they abduct stuff. We know that. We've proven that now. So knowing that they've adjusted well, that doesn't even surprise me, really. And it would make sense they would take advantage of it. And Carol, they do take your kids. Yes, they do, baby. I'm sorry.
If you're like observing a species, it is like interesting to try to observe them. Like if they're going through something like this that hasn't happened in recent memory, like a pandemic shutdown, like what kind of psychological effects it has on people. So, like circling back to like UFO crafts, like I may have asked this before, but I don't think I ever gotten a clear answer. like we know that like rays generally have saucers. Reptilians have like these elongated, gated craft that are like flattened saucers, but stretched
Yeah, it's
out. And then
stretched
the
and
human
stuff like
aliens
that.
have, yeah, and then the human aliens have the like generally the triangular craft, and or what in the tall whites, like I think some have teardrop crabs or like crabs that look like fire crab. I forget what you say they have, but
Actually, Charles Hall and Mark, I mean, not Mark, Justin both told me the same thing. They said they looked like the Jupiter 2, is what they said they looked like.
Mhm.
That's
The
what they
Jupiter
said
too.
they look like.
All
Yeah,
right,
but
I'll have to look up what that looks like.
I don't know. But see, that to me, that don't make any sense because that would look more like a Gray's craft. But you know what? Oh, I know what he meant now. Now I understand what he meant. Okay, now I see why I said it looked like the Jupiter too. So it was probably shaped, but I think it was more conveying the technology, the way it's built together and hooked together. And I'll see the Gray ships are seamless. There's not a seam on them, and even the humans and reptilians, you don't really see any seams on the ship. It's like it's made out of one piece of metal. But on these ships, you actually do.
Yeah.
That's what the difference is. I can't be 100% sure, but I do remember Charles Hall said that he didn't feel that their technology was that far ahead of ours. 500, 1,000 years is what he really felt. He didn't
Yeah.
feel like, he said it like this: if we could get our hands on it, I'm sure we could backwards engineer it. It's just not that far away from us.
So
Basically, what he was trying to get across to people is we probably will work on these technologies. We probably won't implement these technologies for another 100, maybe 150, 200 years, but it is a technology we probably already possess. There's some things that our government possesses, but for some reason they do not want to use them. Like the free energy thing from Tesla. They ain't never using that.
yeah.
Tesla going to give everybody
So
free energy. Go ahead.
yeah. Yeah, so like anyway, like back to my question. So what I was asking, like, since we have like those kind of crafts associated to those kind of aliens, like, is there any kind of craft that we can associate to the Browns? Like, or they don't have ships of their own.
No,
They just ride along.
no. Some of them orbs probably belong to all the species we know that visit here have orbs that they use for probes for like quick trips, and they're in all kind of sizes, from the size of a bus to a size of a. And some of them are tear shaped, some of them are just orbs. But some might be the size of a marble, some might be the size of a bus. It's just kind of weird. But last time I heard anybody describe the Browns, it sounded like either they were flying a gray ship or a reptilian ship. It sounded real close. I can't. I mean, it may just be a version of it, but there's something. With the exception of the human aliens, the other 5 or 6 races seem like their crafts are more rounded, smoother, whereas the humans seem to be more angled, more pointed.
Geometric.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a different type of technology all the way around, and it's a different type of design for flying in atmosphere. Because they got to think about this. We know they do. Even though they're flying in space the majority of the time, every now and then they do go in atmosphere. So some of these craft have to be atmosphere capable. I'm sure the big ones aren't, but the little ones probably. There's probably a lot of it. And it really, to me, it looks like, from especially from my MUFON days, there's 200 craft, maybe more, that we've got descriptions of. I'm not talking about big interstellar craft. I'm talking about stuff that would be, they might be fighters, they might be escorts, they might be shuttles, they might be cargo ships. I have no idea what they are, but there seems to be a lot of different models of them. And it seems like different ships, the bigger ships, have different ones on board. Even though it's like it's like that big rectangular ship everybody talks about that the saucers land on and off of. The really big saucers land on and off of it. That's why sometimes it's got 3 humps, sometimes it's got 5, sometimes it's got 8, sometimes it's 3 on top, 4 on bottom, 4 on top, 3 on bottom, whatever. It's just a big landing platform. It's a big huge rectangle that has indents in it where the saucers land on it. But when you look at it, it's described differently every time, because sometimes it's like a bar with hills on it. Sometimes like an upside down bar with dips on it. I mean, it just depends the way you see it and who's on it at the time. But those ships, they're on board their ship that's just fly around on our planet. They have like 10 or 11 different types. And I'm sure each one's for something different. That's why I said if Roswell was a true crash, then it was something like that. It was something like a shuttle or a cargo ship, because there's no way ET was going to leave us with one of their saucers, something that could achieve faster than light travel or worm technology. They just weren't going to leave that with us. Next thing we know, we'd be portaling into their it'd be like was it Battlefield Earth when they portaled into their planet and blew it up with the nuke? Yeah. Is it, was that Battlefield? Yeah, it was Battlefield Earth. The one with John Travolta and people. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So in other words, doesn't really seem to be a ship unique to the Browns. Like they don't seem to have a ship.
I don't know if they they might buy their technology, they might rent their technology. Maybe because they're part of the cleanup crew, it's given to them. Maybe the Greys giving them something, because they don't seem to be a very forceful race as far as they don't seem to stand out with the other 4 or 5 big ones. They just seem to be in the background doing whatever that they do, which what they do is kind of nasty anyway. So I imagine they do stay in the background. Because somebody the other day asked me if they eat the people and the things that they collect. I don't know if they eat them. They definitely recycle them now. What it's being used for, I don't even want to venture to say. But they definitely recycle. Anything that was alive gets recycled. Don't go to waste. Is it food? It could be food. You mean you're talking about like Solvent green kind of thing? It could be. I don't know. I don't think so though.
Or like building their houses and stuff like you.
Yeah, they could be building their houses out of it. Maybe it's used for some kind of lube or something. I said, it's like a friend of mine the other day was crying about the petroleum industry. Why do we still have petroleum? We use it so little. And I said, you got to be an idiot. Petroleum's in everything, dude. It's in everything. It's in all plastics. I'm like, what are you talking about? I said, you without petroleum, most of the stuff you use and sitting in your house, you wouldn't have. I said, vinyl siding has it, roofs have it, shingles have it. I said, it's in steel, it's in all kind of stuff, man. I'm like, it's in the damn shit you rub on your chest to make your cold go away. I said, that's the thing. It's in perfume, it's in nail polish. Petroleum is everywhere. It's not just about gasoline, people. And I think it shows you how ignorant our society really is, that the majority of people don't know petroleum is in so many products. They're wanting to get rid of it so bad. And I'm thinking to a lot of these women who are saying getting rid of them, a lot of your aging creams and stuff, ladies, a lot of the stuff you wear for makeup, guess what it's got in it? Petroleum. Sorry. And you should be grateful it does, because in the old days, it was whale oil. Yeah, we replaced whale oil with petroleum so we could stop killing the whales so you could have perfume. Yeah, y'all didn't know that? Most perfumes were made out of whale oil. Some still is even today. Sorry, guys. Y'all killing whales so you can smell good. Oh, you should be ashamed of yourself. What can I say?
Yeah, I think that's all the questions I have for now. Like,
I couldn't resist that.
So I'll leave you at that, and you can whatever topics you want.
Yeah, I'm gonna wrap this up in a minute because I gotta let the ladies take over in a few minutes. And that Michelle's a demon woman, so you can't be aggravating her. Yeah. And then she's got Bubbles the Great at work, so I got a demon and Bubbles the Great. It's scary, people. I'm telling y'all, they get me in a thing and put the demon on me. I'm like, uh-oh. It gets scary. But anyway, I'm gonna let Callie get out of here real quick, guys. What did I do with it? I just had it in front of me. Let me pull this up right quick, and I will give y'all a quick run on this. What did I do with it? That's what happens when you get 5 billion screens open on your computer. You never know where everything is. Okay, let's see. Here we go. All right. I feel like I'm in Jeopardy. Oh, quick too. Man, people hating on Dr. Oz for taking over on Jeopardy, huh? Woo, man. I was stunned. I mean, I don't really have a say-so in it, but I was just kind of stunned. But anyway, we got Weird Tales Radio just started with us. We picked them up yesterday. There are actually about 6 archives available. I know I posted Weird Tales Radio. Let's see, it was Welcome to Sci-Fi and TV Movie Geek Fest. We got that one up there. We've got quite a few other ones we actually posted up there. Y'all go over to Weird Tales. They're out of the UK. We're actually bringing on a show from South Korea as well. We've been expanding. We'll be in with the 3 new shows and the ones we already have. We'll be in 5 other countries, 5 countries total with the U.S. No, where we have hosts at. No, we're in every country on the planet. As far as I know, there's no countries we're not in. Matter of fact, I had so much fun the other day picking on Chris Como at CNN. I said, don't even try to talk big to me. He's like, what? I said, dude, I'm a little old radio station, United Public Radio, and I go more places than you could ever go. I said, CNN's banned in more than half the countries I go to. I said, we're not banned anywhere. We don't go around insulting people because they live in a different country or talking about their heritage like other people do. I'm like, I said, but get as mad as you want, buddy. I said, yeah, it's a shame that a little Cajun boy down the bayou can reach further than a big old CNN can. That's just pathetic. It's not just them. NBC's banned. NBC and CNN is banned from everywhere in the Middle East completely. A third of Africa, half of Asia, including China. So is BBC's actually banned even more than they are. The BBC can only go to free world countries, and that is it. Yeah, I feel for them. But we're in Taiwan. Yes, we are. We're in Pakistan. Oh, yes, we are. We in Iran. We in Israel. We in Saudi Arabia. Oh, yeah. We in Dubai. We are everywhere. And that's just how it works, peeps. I know.
Yeah.
And it's a shame that some big
just,
company, just because we're not rude. That's why. Go ahead, Cal.
yeah, just to let you know, I'm going to be sharing the 3D model I made of the Reed family. And
Oh, yeah, share it up.
as well as,
and when
yeah,
you talk to
yeah.
Thomas, tell him I said hi.
Okay, and I'm also gonna since the people coming after this show, like they're gonna be talking with an alien researcher and stuff. I'm also gonna share the illustrations I made of the different kind of abduction aliens. So if they want to take a look at that and then share it with the guests, I'll share that too.
Jeffrey, no, people. It doesn't matter what we see aliens look like. You should always share what you think an alien looks like. It could be ours. It could be something new. It could be some new wrinkle in the system. That's why we always tell people to share. Now, nobody's going to get mad because you see something different, and it might be something new, or it might have been you seen it from a different angle. It doesn't matter. We just want people to share what they see. Yeah, because you never know when there's a new player may enter. Like the tall whites. Technically, they were a new player, just like the light beings were technically new players. There was the Greys, reptilians, and humans, and then a few new players added it. No, I don't believe in the 59 aliens visit. I'm going to say this again. Show me some proof. Show me some aliens. Give me some description. Show me some craft. Show me some people who met them. What do you mean, Valiant Thor? Valiant Thor? No. You mean they looked identical to us? No, that's not the human aliens. They looked identical to us. We'd have had to have a common ancestry with them. They were the same height, same size, same color, 5 fingers, 5 toes, blonde hair, blue eyes. Yeah, unless there's another planet like Earth out there, we were related to them. So I'm not really feeling that was a true representation. Well, I think because in the old days when people would hear human alien, they would draw them like us, not realizing that they didn't look exactly like us. Yeah, I think that's all that was. Mm-hmm. But you know what? I've had people tell me how overflowingly beautiful. I'm telling you, people, if you're dating an overflowingly beautiful alien, you're dating a reptilian. I'm just being honest with you.
Yeah. To be fair, to be fair, the only comparisons that from the depictions I gathered from you that you shared with me, the human aliens do have long blonde hair. They do generally have bluish.
Actually, from really from the front, they really look a lot like us. I mean, there's not all that much difference. When you get right up on their face, you can kind of tell their eyes are shaped a little bit different than ours, and the colors aren't. They're not. When you say blue, it's not a blue you've seen here. That's the only way I can describe it. Mm-hmm. When you see the blue eyes of these aliens, you're going to be like, well, that's a blue I've never seen before, because it is. It's a blue you've never seen. It is blue. I mean, as far as I can tell. Now, let me rephrase this real quick. So if you're with the human aliens, they don't breathe the same atmosphere that we do. So wherever they live, when you see them, if we were in their atmosphere, looking at them blue eyes may be a whole different color. They may just be the color they are because of how we see them through our atmosphere. I don't know how else to explain it, but because of different types of atmosphere, colors may change. Like if you were living on Mars and you were looking at the ground on Mars, Mars has got a hue to it, so it's going to kind of change some of the colors. Not going to be a deep red or anything, but it'll kind of cast like an amber shadow over everything. It's the same thing with these other planets. I didn't realize until I was talking with a physicist friend of mine, and we got to talking about that, and he said, well, Joe, if they're breathing a different atmosphere, it could be argon or whatever, he said it would definitely make colors look different. And I had never thought of it like that, but he was absolutely right. It's the thing. That's one of the things about listening people and not arguing. Sometimes you just listen because you may actually learn something. And then a lot of times I've been really lucky. I've met a lot of talented people over the years that have helped me to debunk theories or prove theories. I'm all in and about the truth, people. I'm not about, it doesn't matter if it fits my personal narrative or not. All I'm looking for is the truth. And sometimes I'm really disappointed in what I find, and sometimes I'm exhilarated. So that's the only thing I can tell you. I don't think ET's here to enlighten us. I don't think they're here to eat us. I don't think they're here to wipe us out. I think they want to watch our species evolve because they've interfered enough that our DNA, we're sharing DNA with them now, and they want to see how we evolve. They want to see what comes of us. I really think in the Greys and the reptilians, and probably humans' case too, they really think one day we may be a contributor to the council. You know, you got to remember they have a long lifespan. So what we consider a long time to them is like a trip around the corner. Yeah, like we're talking 10,000 years. We're all like, oh my God. And you're like, oh, well, that's just, that's like tomorrow. It's just a different, when you have long lifespans, long period of times are different. That's all I can say. It's a different world. But I know we got to get out of here. So Callie, thanks for stopping by. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Callie. Callie been hanging out with us. Callie been hanging out with us for a long time. He's out there, and we call him Callie because he's out there in Cali. Oh, I've been hearing good things about y'all easing restrictions, and the governor's not losing his mind like he was, and their governor lost their mind, man. Trust me on this. I got friends been writing to me. They want to do something with this guy. They were not happy people.
And the first thing, the first thing I'm going to do, like once the restrictions ease up here locally, where in the town I live, I'm going to go to an all-you-can-eat sushi place and eat as much sushi as I can.
Some good sushi, man. You know what? Come to think about that, real quick before I leave, I haven't really seen good sushi. There's a lot of people quit, I guess, because it's hard to deliver sushi, and what raw fish? Yeah, some sushi. Okay, don't even. Not all sushi is raw fish. Not all sushi is raw seafood. You can get avocado rolls. You can get shrimp. Let me tell you what. You can get all kind of rolls. I'm just gonna be honest with y'all. I'm not a big raw fish fan myself, but there's a lot of sushi that I do like, and there is a lot of those rolls and spring rolls and stuff those sushi rolls that I really like. Eat avocados. It's good for y'all too. Good cholesterol in avocados. That was my tip of the day. We got to go. Callie, thanks for coming in. Coming up next, the illustrious Michelle DeRochezet and the evil, evil Bubbles, the alien, better known as Amelia Pisano. They will have Daryl Sims on with them tonight, the alien hunter. So now Bubbles going to have to be ducking under the desk and shit because the alien hunter's going to be there. I'm just teasing people. If anybody writes to me, Amelia's not an alien. Amelia's a sweetheart. Yes, she is. And Michelle's a sweetheart too. Michelle's a demon tracker, but still. I'm sending her to get Biden, yeah. I'm just kidding. This way I'll start with me. Oh, no, I'm just teasing. No, it's going to be too easy. Trump was an easy one to pick on. Biden's going to even be easier. Yeah, it's going to be great for politics, or at least for radio. I can't say for the country, but for radio, it's going to be a lot of fun. But on that night, guys and girls, we're going to get out of here. Coming up next week, we will have the group from Pittsburgh Paranormal with me, Chasing Prophecy with Jenny, Sean, and Jason. They'll be hanging out with me, and we'll be discussing their show and how they got in the field and what kind of research they do and what kind of paranormal stuff do they chase around. And again, coming up next, The Outer Realm with Michelle DeRoche and Amelia Pisano and their guest tonight, Daryl Alien Hunter Sims. Good night, ladies, and good night, ladies and gentlemen, and stay tuned. I was being a little discriminative there. Bite me, guys. And that's what I was saying.